If you really like this episode, please support our podcast by going to patreon.com/truecrimewives and get lots of great extras. On the Good Wife's Guide to True Crime, we discuss crimes that some may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
They had you on pages and pages of medications, many of which have side effects that mimic the diseases that your mother said you had. You were being set up.
Right.
Why would she do that to you?
I don't know.
Dee Dee, we had some books we found in the house, Leukemia for Dummies and, different books like that. So she did her research. She knew the terminology. She knew how to make Gypsy appear to have certain symptoms by giving her certain medications. She was pretty slick.
What does that cause you to feel when you realize how viciously exploitive this woman was with you?
When I first found out, I was so angry and hurt. And it's like, I trusted her so much to do everything that she told me to do, be her good little girl like she wanted me to be. And every time I'd mess up, I'd always ever say, next time I'll do better, next time I'll do better. Don't get angry with me. And it just hurts, because every time she told me that she loved me, that she was trying to protect me, now that I know the only person I need protection from is her. And I want to know what was so wrong that I did to her for her to do that to me, because I don't understand.
I can't begin to tell you how happy I am to finally be closing the door on Gypsy's medical files. These records have caused me such anguish and grief over the last 3+ years. It's been interesting for sure, but I can't say I've enjoyed researching them. I can say that the ladies that helped me make sense of them are some of my most cherished friends. I want to take a moment to thank Titania, Colleen, Chelsea, Jessica Lynn, Diana, and Serena for all the hard work they did to help me and ultimately you, our listener, to understand even a fraction of what is in these files. I could not have done this without each of you. The tears we cried, the anger we felt, and the friendship we have formed will never be forgotten. There were many sleepless nights, and I can't express my total gratitude. I know it wasn't easy, and the more we dug, the weirder it all got. For our listeners, what this means is that you are hearing the most accurate telling of what took place medically, and these women made that happen. Tonight we go beyond just Gypsy's medical history. We'll be talking about Dee Dee's too. And I can tell you that it is nothing close to what the media has portrayed it as so far. We're also going to tell you another child story with one of these doctors. And I'm sure it's going to create even more questions in your mind, because it sure did for us. We hope you have enjoyed the medical portion of all of this. It was by far the hardest part of our research. Hey folks, it's time to grab your glass of wine because the Good Wives, Fancy, Colleen, and Christina, are about to serve up another true crime case.
In tonight's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about Dee Dee's health and debunk some of the rumors that were out there in the media. And we're also going to talk about the rest of Gypsy's medical in Springfield, which is where things get really strange. And we notice that her medical starts to change in terms of how it was in Louisiana, and also how the fraud starts to ramp up a little bit.
Yeah, it really does. And as you saw in the last episode, I mean, we kind of got into a lot of it. You're going to see, you know, the changing of the name, the birth certificates, the birth dates, the ages. It just becomes absolute, I don't know, lunacy. It's ludicrous.
It's like you're watching or listening to a movie play out, and
by really bad writers.
Yeah, really bad. Like,
really bad writers.
Like, this was what a parody of a funny movie would have been.
Yes, I agree with you. It's a parody of a medical history. There you go.
And that is what it is.
I always say that you can't make this shit up, because if somebody actually made this up and wrote this as a story, people would be like, what kind of ridiculous shit is this? What ridiculous movie is this? Like, it makes no sense. But it's real. And like, it's beyond any movie you could imagine.
If I walked into a Hollywood office without saying, now I want you to understand, this is based on a true story, and I pitched this, they would laugh me the hell out. They would just be like, lady, there's no way that all this happened. There's no way this all happened to one person. And that is completely ridiculous that any of that actually, you want me to believe that any of this is realistic. And I would be like, well, let me show you these documents, sir, because they really are realistic. And, you know, when we were writing the script for the pilot, I mean, we went through many different versions to try and figure out how to lay this out in the best way that people could even understand. And, you know, we had to go through different ideas of who would be the narrator in the story, because it was just completely 100% unbelievable.
I'm excited to talk about tonight our interview with the patient of
Dr.
Flasterstein.
I am too, because I think it shows a pattern of why he may not have wanted to really get into reporting her. And, you know, I just...
Right, because to chart in a patient's file that I suspect Munchausen by proxy, but to not really... You didn't do anything with it.
Did nothing.
And you just charted it, and that was it. So you recognized the pattern of behavior, but you didn't follow your duty to the medical profession, and neither did really anybody in your staff. And I have a problem with that.
Nobody in the whole thing of this did what they were supposed to do. I mean, let's just be honest.
But if somebody were at least to say that, you know, the doctor wrote in his note, I suspect Munchausen by proxy. So anybody who then touched that note, read it once, should have reported it. Sure. Even if everything else was perfect. If that note was there, that should have been a red flag. Well, okay, and anything in the whole hospital system should have been flagged.
And then saying afterwards that, well, I just didn't think anybody would believe me because she was so well, you know, inundated in the area and in with other doctors and nurses, and everybody loved them. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. Everybody can love Ted Bundy too, but he still killed people. Like, you know, I mean,
exactly.
You can have the nicest person in the whole wide world that sits next to you in the office, and they can go home and beat the ever-loving crap out of their kid. I mean, that happens. Police officers, you know, are always acute. You know, there's lots and lots of cases where police officers are amazing. Police officers go home and beat the shit out of their wives.
Yes,
so and as a person looks nice or seems nice does not mean that they are not abusing somebody.
Right, and it really can go in any direction, because the weirdo, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer, right? You know, all of his family was like, "Oh, he's just a weirdo, not really anything of him. It's just weird." No, right. He is a killer cannibal.
Right.
Like, there are, you know, guys who volunteer for schools and Boy Scouts.
Yep.
And he just, he's a family guy. He has kids. Nothing, think anything of it. He's a predator and a pedophile and sexual predator.
Well, let's talk about, let's think about priests for a second. This is supposed to be the holy of all holy men, right? And it goes on for centuries of them doing what they do to children, and it's covered up by them and everything. But Father so-and-so, he's an amazing guy. No, he's not an amazing guy. He's a fucking pedophile. And I'm not saying that all priests are pedophiles, but it's very rampant and it's covered up over and over again. And I think that that's kind of what we're seeing here is like, do not
it's the Divine Witness Protection Program.
Do not judge a book by their cover either way, good or bad.
And that's how this case has to be looked at. Gypsy's a very innocent looking girl.
Right.
Nick, it looks like a weirdo. And these doctors were still doctors.
Right. And Dee Dee looks like this wonderful, caring, loving mom who is literally killing her child. So,
that's one of the reasons I'm excited tonight to talk about Dee Dee's medical history and her medical conditions, because it's an interesting way how she's portrayed as now in the end a sickly woman who's getting sicker and sicker. And it's interesting to me the way the media portrayed her and the way the act and other things that we've seen have portrayed her as her health was rapidly declining.
Sure.
So that's one of the things that I'm excited to talk about tonight and debunk a little bit of that for people that think like, oh, well, Gypsy's mom was so weak and so sick that Gypsy could have just walked out of the door and Dee Dee wouldn't have been able to do anything to stop her because she was so ill at that point.
Right. And the thing is and we'll talk about this when we get to the aftermath and our wrap up with our final thoughts, but there is so much in this case that the media has presented in a way that really has continued the lie and skewed a lot of what people believe about this case, because it has been portrayed one way. And I'm telling you, as Sheriff Arnott said over, in his conference, was nothing is as it seems. And that is absolutely 100% true for this whole case, from the doctors to Gypsy to Nick to his parents to her parents, to Gypsy's parents to Dee Dee to Dee Dee's family to Christy and Rod. It goes on and on. Everything. Literally nobody in this is what they seem. They aren't. Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
Hey guys, it's me again, Cajun Mama Ty here, with another great recipe. As you know, the Good Wives are on this journey, as well as I am too, and we are headed into Wisconsin, leaving behind Springfield, and we're at the home stretch, ending this Gypsy case. We have this easy recipe while you're listening to this podcast, gathering all the information we have. You can make this easy chicken and dumplings recipe, and oh my goodness, it is absolutely delicious. Can't wait to share it with you.
And we're going to move on into the new year. And there's not an entire much going on in 2013 that's so much out of the ordinary for you guys to hear us talk about. But one is in August of 2013. It's another social work note, which are always fun.
What document are we looking at?
8/13/13.
8/13/13. Okay.
And you should read it. It's so funny.
I should read it because it's so funny. That's always good. I always want to hear that. Hold on, I'm reading. So I know what I'm reading before I'm reading it.
Is it 8/13 or 8/22?
8/13.
Why am I not seeing that?
It'll go 8:13, 8:15, 8:19, and then
Okay, got it.
Well, okay, so 8:13:13 is a social work note, and it says brief intervention. Oh, so SW is
social worker.
Social worker. Duh. Okay. Social worker received a phone call from patient's mother via social worker's main office. I'm sorry, I have to burp. Okay. I've only been drinking water, I promise. Patient's mother stated that patient has an appointment scheduled tomorrow and requested help locating a discounted hotel because Ronald McDonald House was full. I bet. Social worker provided education regarding Medicaid's requirement of advance notice for assistance with lodging, as well as the assistance that social worker could provide in completing pre-authorization forms for future appointments. Patient's mother expressed appreciation and requested that a discounted hotel list be emailed to her. Social worker encouraged patient's mother to contact social worker with any questions, or if she required any additional assistance, social worker will remain available. And this took anywhere from 16 to 30 minutes.
That email's hilarious, though.
Now, was it Ronald McDonald House that she was kicked out of?
Yes,
yeah,
it was Ronald McDonald House.
I wonder if that's when Ronald McDonald House was too full.
That's why I laughed.
Yeah.
I bet it was too full. I bet it was too full.
Oh, boy.
Crazy people. That's what I bet it was too full for.
Yep, because this appointment's in Kansas City.
Okay, but this is in 2013. Like, she doesn't know this shit already.
Right, like Travelocity.
I'm new. I've never done this before. I've never been seen. I've never needed an assistance with lodging. I don't know how any of this fucking works. Oh, it's my amnesia. That's what it is. It's my amnesia. I've forgotten how this works after, 20 some odd years.
But no, now go to the next document on 8:15.
I don't think I want to.
You do, and now you get to read it this. But you can't read it in advance. You just have to read it.
I'm trying to get my open.
Well, folks, so on 8/14/13, we have another brief intervention that lasts 31 to 45 minutes this time. So now she's taken up over an hour and a half of this poor woman's time. And let's read this one. Social worker received call from patient's mother calling to advise about poor hotel conditions the previous night. Patient is an 18-year-old female who appeared 8/14 for a dental recall appointment. Patient's mother reports that the hotel, the Extended Stay America, was unclean, and she and patient left and stayed the remainder of the night at the Best Western. Social worker was able to find the corporate complaint hotline for Extended Stay America and provide, I can't even get through this, and provide patient's mother with the phone number, encouraging her to call the company to report her findings. Patient's mother thanked social worker for her help in locating the number and stated that she would contact them directly. Patient's mother also stated that her daughter would be having an appointment possibly Monday and surgery possibly Thursday of next week. Social worker assessed for lodging needs. Patient and her mother will require lodging, and patient's mother stated that she would contact social worker as soon as appointment times were finalized for Medicaid lodging assistance. Because Medicaid will require several days notice, social worker will remain available.
You've got to be shitting.
Yeah.
Now the woman can't even find. So if she doesn't know how to find a mechanic. She can't book her own hotels, and she can't even figure out how to call a hotel to complain about shitty conditions.
And she spent 31 to 45 minutes of the social worker's time complaining about the hotel conditions.
Yep. Just, isn't it beautiful?
Unreal.
Honestly, I just feel so bad for this social worker.
This poor girl. This poor girl.
Because she didn't ask to be brought into this nightmare. And just to be told for over an hour about finding a hotel, and then finding that we had to go to a new hotel because the hotel that you put on your list.
Right, that you put on your list is terrible. And how dare you put that on your list? Jesus.
It's exactly what it was. It was like, you suck. I'm going to tell you
Lord,
that
help
you suck.
Me. Lord, help me. I don't know how to dial the phone. I just don't know how to do it. I mean, God.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I can scam everyone under the sun. I have no problem calling Make-A-Wish, Habitat, but I don't know how to call and complain about shitty hotels.
Or even the go on the, like, this is 2013.
But wait a minute. She has Gypsy, who is a certified travel agent, don't you know?
I do not know.
I mean, because she can give full-on details of how to book a trip to Disney for cheap. So why is she not consulting with Gypsy, who is clearly a travel agent by now?
Well, and I just like that, she called that poor social worker the day before the appointment. Like, so she was like, I need less than 24 hours notice prior to your appointment time. Like, especially, you were going to Kansas City. Like, you had the Angel flight sending you over there. But I digress. But guess what happens just 4 days later?
No telling.
It's the next page. We've got that durable power of attorney.
Yeah.
And mostly I just add that in here, and so you all know that it wasn't just, middle of, they had nothing going on, and that's when this was happening. Like, other stuff was happening.
Oh, my favorite document is coming up. Which
one?
It's our favorite resident doctor, Beckerman.
It's going to be coming up. We're not there yet.
But I skipped ahead.
We're close to there. We're close.
I skipped ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
But, so, nothing really to talk about the power of attorney besides the fact that it happened.
And it's totally false, and it was never filed. And it has 3 different dates on it and 3 different... Yeah, it's crazy. It's the story of the power of attorney kills me. I mean, basically, she started this power of attorney. She never went back. I don't know if she stole the stamp or if she just quickly caused a scene and happened to grab it and stamp it and run out of the office. I don't know, but it never gets filed, and it was never crimped with the actual, seal to make it official. So this is not even worth the paper that it's on.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then we're going to go just another few days later, and we're going to go down to August 22nd of 2013. And this is mostly just...
You're missing Beckerman because he's on the 21st.
That's in 2014.
Oh.
So I said you skipped ahead.
I skipped ahead a lot. I just thought it was 20. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, carry on. I mean, the dates just muddle together at this point.
The 6 pages of medications right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through all those medications because I already have with you all.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to show you guys so you could see that these are real medications. They're not for asthma. I have them, the doctor's pieces of paper, not what was ever in a photo. This is actual medications.
A lot.
6 pages worth with 4 to 5 on every single page.
Well, let's see how many controlled medicines we have here. 1, 2, 3. 3 on this page. 3 controlled medicines. Unbelievable.
So now we're going to go into 2014.
Yay!
But we're not at Beckerman yet.
I know.
We're getting into your year, though.
Fabulous.
So I believe the first one, it's not going to be that far off from that.
No, it's not, right?
It's only one more document prior to your Beckerman page. It's another medication orders page. But
Right.
when it talks about the opioids and the pain medications, I flagged this one again because this is a year later and she is still on 2 different narcotics.
Okay, just 1 second. What, babe?
I'm going to bed.
Okay, I love you.
Sorry, I got loud.
No, you're fine. I just needed the door to be shut.
I'm excited when Butcher says, so what are we going to do about that Honda Prelude?
Aw. Okay.
So,
Night, Craig.
Well, good night, Craig, the ladies say.
good night, ladies.
Hold on.
I got this Volvo Penta Marine engine over there. It's got Solex carburetors, dual overhead cam. Makes 140 horses. It's got everything. It's complete.
Hold
Why don't
on.
we throw that? Why don't we make an adapter and throw that in the Honda?
Okay. Go to bed.
That car
Go to bed.
flies at 120 miles an hour.
Go to
with
bed.
95.
Go to bed.
Can you imagine that car with a Marine engine in it?
Go to bed. Go to bed. Just go away. Go to bed. He wants to put a boat motor in the car. Okay. Well, that's fantastic, babe.
We can do it.
We could
I
do
heard him
it.
say that we could do it.
We could do it. Yeah.
He sounds like he was advertising his
Yeah, I know.
knives again.
He sounds like he's advertising his knives again. I love you, Colleen.
When I go for butcher, I go butcher. It's $500. Why would I go through all that and buy a complete car and just swap it into that?
Okay, babe.
You know what? You don't support me, and I don't like it.
I do support you always. So, okay.
That was good.
All right.
Oh.
Okay, so we're on this medication order.
Yeah, it's essentially. I was just saying that.
Whatever. I was just talking about how you make amazing food at work today. So why don't you just shut up about how I don't support you? All right, go away so I can finish what I'm doing. Colleen would like to go to bed sometime tonight. She has to get up at 4:00 in the morning. All right. It highly is overrated, but
it's as overrated as vision.
Overrated as a pigeon?
No, as a pigeon. She thought you said overrated as a pigeon.
Oh, those are delicious.
He said overrated as vision because he works in a glass lab, so he's being funny.
Oh.
Okay.
Did you know that pigeons only exist in North America because they were brought here by Europeans as food?
I so don't give a crap. Will you all go away? Oh. Okay, let's see here.
Almost done.
What were the controlled medications she was on at that time? The narcotics?
So she
Hold
was
on. Hold on. Let them clear this room. They're leaving now. Okay, go ahead. Christina, say that again.
What were the narcotic medications that she was on at this time?
So she was on both fentanyl, oxycodone, and roxicodone, and several different benzodiazepines with lorazepam. And I flagged this file because it doesn't have all of the pain medications on there. It does have 2 of them, but then if the page prior to that, it asks the patient what level her pain is at. And Christina, what does that say?
Oh, wait, I'm not on that page anymore.
Oh, so close.
Wait a second.
I have a zinger after she's done on this page because it's wonderful.
Wait, where am I? I got caught up on July 21st because July 21st is fucking priceless. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Wait. Where is the pain level?
Sorry,
it says comfort assessment.
We're very ADHD today. We can't focus any longer.
Which page though? The 7.
It's 7/16/14.
The first one or the second one?
The first one. Beat you.
Okay, wait. Oh, no pain. Comfort assessment, no pain.
Yeah, so essentially she's on all of these pain medications for pain.
Well, that's why she has no pain, Colleen. Don't you know?
Oh, pain goal is not 0. Any medical professional will tell you that your pain goal needs to be realistic, and if you have severe pain, your goal is most likely a 4 or a 3, not 0. 0 means you should not be on any more pain meds.
Oh yeah, because a 4 or a 3 would be a huge improvement for me for like a daily basis. I don't think I've ever been at a 4 or a 3.
No,
so
me neither.
I would never expect to be at a 0.
God, no.
Never.
If I woke up and I was at a 0, I would be convinced that I had died in my sleep.
Me too.
I'm just saying, I would be very convinced, and I don't know if you could convince me otherwise. My husband would be like, no, honey, you're here. No, I'm not. No.
Nope. Pain is 0.
I've passed over. I don't know what I'm still doing here. Clearly, I'm not done with you, but no, I don't.
Just join me in the afterlife. Nice. It's great.
Because I'm definitely dead right now.
Yeah. And okay, so here's the interesting note here. This is funny. So in other allergies, dun, 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 we again have processed sugars, and it's anaphylaxis to processed sugar. Has anaphylactic reaction to processed sugars. And if you look at the severity, it says life-threatening. Life-threatening.
Yes.
Processed sugars.
Now, processed sugars, wouldn't that be processed sugars would be in Pediasure?
Yes, processed sugar is in Pediasure.
I mean,
there's lots and lots of
label of Pediasure.
I can tell you right now, Pediasure.
I'm pretty sure it's the second. I think it's water, sugar. I think the milk protein is like the 5th ingredient in Pediasure. I think water and sugar are the first 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, let's see. The internet is helping us today, guys. Let's see what we find here. Water, vitamin A, vitamin B, calcium, sodium, copper, iron, zinc. Where is it?
1 bottle of Pediasure ingredients is water, sugar. And there are 18 grams of sugar in one bottle.
18 grams of sugar in 1 bottle.
And she gets 4 to 5 every night.
Yes.
Oh my God, the stupidity on this astounds me.
Yeah,
absolutely
guys.
Astounds me.
And this is a problem.
See her. Okay, there she goes.
Colleen.
Yes.
You can go.
Okay. I couldn't
I was giving thumbs up. I was pointing at you.
I couldn't see it. I just saw Christina's background.
Let my dog in here. Otherwise, they'll bark at the door. Hold on. Oh.
What are we on, Colleen? 821?
Yep, 821, and it's, I think, the second image of 821. That's the start of the note.
No? Okay. Come on, Mommy. Get up there. Get up there, Mama. Get there. Okay.
All right. So we are starting this with our note on 821 by our favorite doctor, Dr. Beckerman.
No, start over.
Okay.
No, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's really hard to not say that.
I know. And you're not starting because this is like the end of an episode.
End of an episode.
Episode or the beginning of an episode. I don't know. It'll be somewhere, but just don't start like we're starting because we're not.
Okay. So on 821, damn it.
On 821.
On 821, Gypsy sees Dr. Beckerman. And this is the note that I'm pretty sure was read.
Yes.
Tori?
It is. It's the one that Tori and I read that we laughed through the whole thing. And that was not laughing because we were laughing to make fun of it. That was laughing out of sheer just frustration with this document.
There's a lot of things that are wrong in this document, especially coming from a physician.
Yeah.
Because he writes this to a clinic. And do you want me to read it?
Yeah. Hey, say he writes this to a clinic because somebody binged in the middle of that. I don't know who it was. And I don't know if it'll be heard on the audio or not.
Okay. So Beckerman wrote this note to a clinic. And this is what he says. Sorry, Tim just swore.
I heard.
God damn, I'm gonna shut him out, motherfucker. I hate this.
Okay, we're gonna start all over again.
Yep.
Don't worry, my son will be out next to interrupt.
All animals, husbands, and children, please shut up.
Well, I just talked with my husband today about next year. By next year, I want to do traveling shows, and I want to get like an RV and we'll just travel around.
Yeah, so we could be away from them.
We'll have a studio and
traveling studio. I like it.
Yes, a traveling studio. Yes. Okay.
On 821, Dr. Beckerman writes this sleep code note to a clinic, and I'm just going to read right from the notes so you all can understand what our sheer frustration with this doctor is. So this is my first official visit with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a 19-year-old who has been an unclassified congenital myopathy. I have been following Gypsy Rose since she was 4 years of age between New Orleans and near Springfield, Missouri.
Mind you, wait a minute, let's stop right there. Mind you, he just saw her just a little while ago. So it could not possibly be anything of a first official visit because one, he saw her in New Orleans. But let's just pretend that, hey, okay, I saw her in New Orleans, but I'm considering this to be my first official visit in Springfield. Nope. He's seen her many, many times already. So how this could be a first official visit, I don't know. Maybe those words
what is considered an unofficial visit with the doctor? Do you go out for pizza and just chit chat?
That is an unofficial.
Well, he did have her over to the house apparently. So I guess it was
probably.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. So official.
Yep, first official visit. Gypsy has been well since her last visit. She has had no incurrent illnesses, such as pneumonia requiring hospitalization. She continues to use her bi-level positive airway pressure support, which is a BiPAP, ST, inspiratory pressures, expiratory pressures. She has not experienced increasing muscle weakness and is still non-ambulatory in the wheelchair. Gypsy has been involved with various local, regional, and national activities involving children and adolescents who are handicapped. She recently won an award at one of those functions, and it was a national award.
What the hell does this have to do with anything?
It doesn't, and his grammar is just very poor for being a doctor. Like, just rambling. Like,
well, my child won the spelling bee last week too. So should we include that in our next note to the doctor?
But was it her school spelling bee, or was it a state spelling bee? Was it a national?
I mean, because it was a national spelling bee. Apparently, it's noteworthy in doctor's notes. Fucking ridiculous.
And then, this is my favorite line of it all. Of course, Gypsy is my favorite mother-daughter patient. No, you cannot ever show favoritism, and why the hell are you writing it in this official note that you're sending to somebody else?
Yeah, well, she's his official money ticket, so I mean, maybe that's what the fuck he meant.
Today's visit was a checkup to evaluate her lung function as well as to evaluate her compliance, benefit, or effectiveness and compliance, again, with bi-level positive airway pressure support.
Wait a minute. Hey, did you just say that she didn't have pneumonia since
her last visit? Yes, he did.
Okay, but wasn't the last visit, didn't she have pneumonia?
Yes, she did.
Okay, just checking.
This, in case every other sentence is just hullabaloo, this entire letter is that.
Continue on.
So, during the period of time from middle of May to middle of July, she wavered in her use of BiPAP because she was taking care of a feral kitten that required hand-raising, frequent feedings, and other nurturing care. She therefore stayed up late, and many nights she and her mom would take turns feeding the kitten. Her average use of BiPAP over the 2-month period was 3.5 hours. Maximum use was 6 hours. Over the past month, she has improved. That is between mid-July and mid-August. And her use of BiPAP 4 hours or greater has increased from 40% to 53%. Just
okay. So a feral cat for a highly sick child with allergies to everything and breathing problems, and a feral cat, and nobody thought that was problematic.
Well, and I want to know, she has never once brought in the BiPAP. Ever.
Right.
So these numbers are just fictitious because she never once brought in the machine.
So even here where he's saying this, there's no machine brought in red either?
No, there's never a machine.
So he's just making these numbers up at this point? Is that what we're hearing?
Yes. And the fact that he says BiPAP and, writes out BiPAP, and then it's the full name for BiPAP, but she had, since, 6 years prior, has been using a CPAP.
But wait a minute, she had a BiPAP last, right? No?
Well, she had them both. And he's still the overarching doctor. So the fact that he's choosing to write it on the BiPAP, well, pretty much once you go to CPAP, you really don't regress back to the BiPAP. So it's just confusing on what he knew or other doctors knew which machine she was using. If she was using it, she didn't need to use it. So the fact that it's saying varying percentages, I think she just didn't have it on. And and the excuse is a feral cat.
Right. Well, one of the nurses that we had in the early part, she was looking through those things, and she read some of the things where there was some sort of, I think this was in Louisiana though. There was reports that showed the BiPAP, but what it showed was just like nothing. It showed absolutely nothing happening, like that there was no registering of it. So it just was just running.
Yeah, it's because she didn't need it. It's not like there is, a blockage in the airway and the machine has to kick a higher percentage of oxygen to help open up the airway. No.
So let's just turn it on and go away.
Pretty much, walk away. It's just, it's insane because that's just a very expensive machine to not need.
Is somebody doing something right now?
That?
Who is messing with something? I can hear lots and lots of messing with things.
Nothing.
I'm not moving at all.
Literally nothing.
Looking at papers, something?
Nope.
Okay. Anyway.
I was going to say, haven't we seen like a history of whenever that BiPAP machine was supposed to be brought with, Dee Dee has some type of excuse why she doesn't have it, or now we're seeing this is a reason why, the past couple of months she hasn't used it as much because of the kitten.
Yeah,
and
that's just
like nobody picks up on that. Every time we have her in and she has this appointment that's pre-planned and she had to call to get transportation arranged, and she either forgot the machine or didn't think she needed the machine with her, and now she hasn't been using it too much. But I thought this was like a necessity for Gypsy to use this machine to be able to breathe.
Yeah, pretty much. The situation that you're thinking of is when she left it in Florida.
Yes.
Just left it.
Right, she just left it in Florida. But there's also other times where she's just not shown up with it either.
Yeah. Yeah, right. She's like, I didn't know you needed it. Or, I left it in the car.
Unbelievable. I left it at the lodge. I left it at home. I didn't put it on the machine. How many times can somebody say that? And but again, like you said, where the hell is he pulling these numbers from if he doesn't have the machine ever?
Right, because this is not in a period where the results just get like Bluetoothed to, the doctor's Epic chart. It says you need to bring in the machine so we can read the machine. There is no machine to be read.
Does it print out paper that she would have been able to bring in?
No.
So it's not like it's not like an EEG or anything where it would like print it out and she would just bring the roll of paper. No.
Nope. It's like just
inside.
Remember? Yep. It's like one of those small portable crap TVs from like the 90s, little black and white that has a little that. It's about the size of that.
Oh, okay. All right, continue on.
So we have entered getting her a new machine, but it was denied by Missouri Medicaid. I do not think that she absolutely needs a new machine. I have seen no changes consistent with progressive muscle weakness, although the progression may be extremely slow and difficult to assess.
So is he?
Okay.
Is he saying that she doesn't need the machine anymore, or is he saying that she doesn't need a new one? And wouldn't she have just gotten a new one?
Yeah, so he has said he submitted a request for her to get a new type of BiPAP machine. There's a different brand.
But she was just given a new one, so of course they would deny it.
Right. She was just given a new one a year or two prior. And you can't.
So is Dee Dee telling them at this point that Gypsy's condition is getting worse and that's why she's pushing for a new machine? Because he says, I've seen no changes consistent with progressive muscle weakness, although the progression may be extremely slow and difficult to assess. Does that have to do with her breathing that he's talking about?
Right. So something that's very common is like with Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, that the paralysis extends upward and upwards and eventually causes respiratory collapse, and which is how it becomes fatal. But so I don't know why he would think that her respiratory function would be decreasing because of paralysis. And maybe because he thinks that she really does have the muscular dystrophy, but she is in her 20s and she's been fine. No symptoms consistent of getting sicker and sicker. So, and I can't say whether Dee Dee is trying to push them that she really is getting sicker, or if he just was like, hey, let's try to get you a new machine.
I'm still not understanding, I guess, what he's saying here.
I don't know. What I get from it is I feel like Dee Dee was telling him she needed it, because he said, we've entertained getting her a new machine, but it was denied by Missouri Medicaid. I do not think she absolutely needs a new machine. I have seen no changes consistent with progressive muscle weakness, although the progression may be extremely slow and difficult to assess. So what I take from that is he sees no reason for her to have a new machine, but I'm thinking Dee Dee was telling him that, Gypsy's condition is progressing. She's getting worse.
Probably.
He's saying, I don't really see anything that says that, but it could be happening slowly, but that's because, he goes with the flow with what Dee Dee says, which is what I think.
Yeah. Okay, I got it now. That makes sense. It just wasn't making sense as to why he was asking for a new machine when he knows that she just got a new machine. Like,
that's why I think Dee Dee is behind it.
Yeah. Probably Dee Dee.
So is she requesting like a better machine? Is that basically what's going on here?
Yeah. It's pretty much a better
APS mean, Colleen?
AVAPS. Yeah. So it's just an average volume assured pressure support, which guarantees an average tidal volume, which is a lung volume measurement.
Okay.
By adapting pressure support to meet the patient's needs on a breath-by-breath basis. So you could be breathing fine and then have like an intermittent, and then it would kick in, and then your next breath could be different volume and it would kick in something different. So
this machine would adjust for that?
Yes. And so it's very much more high tech than probably what she had.
Sure.
And much more expensive. So there's a reason Medicaid probably didn't want to cover it, because that she just got a new machine, but also because she doesn't need this technology.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, so continuing on in this crazy freaking letter.
Today's assessment of lung function shows them to be apparent from previous lung function tests in that she was not able to take deep enough breath in and blow out. Her maximum, and this is the next part is bolded, her maximum inspiratory and expiratory pressures were therefore low. Her inspiratory pressures and flows were much lower than her PFTs from 2013 before, and lower than her expiratory pressure and flows. There was variability in that measurement, and I think she was having vocal cord abduction problems and closing her vocal cords associated with anxiety. I don't know why he felt the need to bold this section, and pretty much he contradicts himself.
Yes.
Because he, in the beginning, says that she wasn't able to take deep enough breaths and that her pressures were low and that he's concerned about it. But then at the same time, a sentence later, he says that he thinks that there was issues with her vocal cords and anxiety, and that's why they were low.
Right, but then he goes on later to say even more contradictory things, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So she did, however, take 2 puffs of albuterol. Her breath sounds increased, but I believe that was involuntary.
Okay.
I listened to her while the pressures were being measured, and I could not hear an air movement, indicating abductor vocal cord palsy/weakness, which is most likely related to anxiety overtaking the test and just excitement of being here today. As I mentioned, I have a very close relationship with this family, and she really gets excited when she comes to visit us. Her spirometry, likewise, was...
Say that again.
Yep. As I mentioned, I have a very close relationship with this family, and she really gets excited when she comes up to visit us. Her spirometry, likewise, was not reliable. She could not take a deep enough breath in, so therefore she could not go to total lung capacity and could not exhale to residual volume. Her residual volume was therefore elevated. Her functional resisting capacity dropped from 100% to 80%, and a total capacity stayed at 80%. I do believe her lung volumes have dropped a little bit, but not that much. The inspiratory portion of the flow volume curve was flattened, indicating again lack of vocal cord abductions, which was intermittent in nature. I decided not to press it.
Can you explain that last part? Because I decided not to press it also makes me feel as if Dee Dee was pretty much trying to convince him of something. And he knew that something was off, but he decided not to put any pressure on Dee Dee going against her. So am I taking that right? Like, is it that he's not seeing anything wrong? And maybe he's being told, like, yeah, something's really wrong. She's getting worse. I notice it. She's having trouble breathing more.
I don't really know, because this entire section is just full of back and forths of his own thought process, which he really should have just, did a rough draft.
Because then he goes on further to say that there is no abduction after saying that there was an abduction, right? Or did he say there was an abduction and then he says there isn't? I fucking don't know.
Both. And to say that, her residual capacity decreased, but it's not reliable. She's really excited, so her spirometry is not reliable. And spirometry is a very rudimentary device. If anybody has had surgery, you have been given it to go home with. You just pretty much breathe into this plastic device, and
a little ball float, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty reliable. Pretty reliable.
Well,
it's a piece of plastic.
This whole part of that you just read it, like when I hear it, I picture like a really low budget bad movie, and the patient at the doctor's table, and he's taking like her blood pressure or something, and she's like, "I'm just having trouble breathing," and he's like, "Well, wink, wink. I think it's just because you're excited to see me today."
It's like a
That does come off like a porno.
Like the next thing you expect to hear is boom, chicka, boom, 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 boom.
It's so strange to me, these notes.
Nobody's chart should ever contain this note, because he's saying that all these numbers and that he's listening, but he thinks it's bad, but then at the same time it's not that bad. She's just excited. She's excited to see us.
Wait a minute, but how old is she at this point?
Her birthday.
She's 19.
Her chart says she's 19.
Yeah.
In real life, she's 23.
And he said in the beginning she was 16, right?
19.
Oh, he did say 19.
This is the one note he does say 19. In the past, he has gotten her birthday wrong.
Okay, so she's 23 at this point, though, in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like, what 23-year-old do you know is, like, so excited at the doctor's office? I don't even care if you like the damn doctor. I like my doctor a lot. But I'm not going to be excited to the point where I'm throwing a test by being so freaking excited to see a doctor.
Yeah.
Well, I thought she has such bad anxiety that she is, her level should be all over the place. Because the anxiety, they should be up, they should be down. So if her levels are elevated because she has anxiety, it's really a good thing, because it means she's breathing more. So he just doesn't make any sense. And he finally goes on to say that on physical exam, she was in no distress. Her respiratory rate was normal. Her pulse ox was 99 to 100% on room air. Her blood pressure was normal. Her respiratory rate was normal. Her pulse was normal and regular.
Well, wouldn't it have been elevated if she had anxiety?
It would. So would her blood pressure. So would her respiratory rate. And her pulse ox might be down. And if she has lung problems, usually her pulse ox would not be 100% on room air. So her vitals already are giving her away.
So what clinic received this crap fucking note?
Mercy Clinic Family Medicine.
Who is the doctor that he's writing it to?
Susan Heasley? D.O.?
So Susan Heasley didn't find anything wrong with this note?
She never responded to that we can see. Just file it away.
Of course.
And then he goes in a little bit more about her ENT exam. No nasal problems. Oral exam revealed dental irregularities. No oral obstruction. Neck was supple. No thyroid enlargement. Chest with no scoliosis, though her medical history says that she has scoliosis. Breath sounds were clear, intermittently, and deep and symmetrical. So her respiratory assessment is 100% normal. So whatever he just tried to throw out in the, bolded inspiratory, expiratory values thing, it just out the window. Her cardiac exam, no murmur, despite her medical history saying murmur. She has no digital clubbing, cyanosis, edema, and was sitting in a wheelchair. Legs were obviously extremely weak. Hands were cold. She does not have much subcutaneous tissue for a 19-year-old. Starved, and I've touched on that a lot. And his summary.
He acts like the legs not moving is something new. Meanwhile, she's been in a wheelchair for fucking ever, and she's supposedly paralyzed. So why would she have any movement?
Right, legs were obviously extremely weak. What? How did you test that? Did she lift them for you?
She's paralyzed. Of course they're fucking weak.
Yeah, it's a comment that just doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
None of this makes sense.
But guys, it's normal. It's normal.
So his last summary note: Gypsy Rose Blanchard has a severe unclassified congenital myopathy with respiratory muscle insufficiency during sleep, thus is dependent on BiPAP to prevent episodes of respiratory failure, atelectasis, and hospital admissions for acute respiratory events. She may have a little bit loss of lung function over time with mild respiratory muscle weakness. Today's lung function...
Didn't he just say it was severe?
Yeah.
How is it severe and mild?
I don't know.
Those two words don't go together in the same sentence.
And that he is saying that the BiPAP is helping prevent episodes of respiratory failure, atelectasis, and hospital admissions from respiratory issues, but all of her vitals were normal. Her tidal volumes really were normal. Her BiPAP usage is pretty much none.
Yeah, because of the feral cat.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And then he writes the last bold: today's lung function tests were not representative of her usual baseline state and were hampered because of some anxiety induced by testing, excitement, and vocal cord dysfunction. This sometimes may be interpreted by her asthma because she becomes short of breath. I will consider having her seen by the asthma vocal cord speech therapist. I would like to see her back in 6 months.
I don't even know what we just read.
There really isn't. it's mostly him contradicting
himself
everything.
over and over again.
Yes.
Oh, she's anxious. She doesn't have any elevated tests, but she's anxious, but that doesn't mean anything. But, this isn't normal of what she normally has, but yet it didn't seem any different than last time. But what in the ever-loving fuck, man?
It's just him saying that she's sick, but she's not sick, but that she's really, really sick, but she really isn't. She's just excited. Has that a banana in your pocket? Or are you just happy to see me?
Like, I don't understand. Like, who actually writes this down and thinks, yep, that's perfectly normal? That's a great report. Excellent job, doctor.
Well, right. His grammar sucks. His medical knowledge in this letter sucks. And why were you writing half of this stuff down to send to a different clinic than your own and to put in her file in general? This is creepy.
I mean, like, who gives a shit that she won some national shitting thing? What does that have to do with anything in the medical file?
And that's your favorite patient, favorite mother, that she is just really excited, happy to see her. Like, no. He spends two paragraphs.
No. Like, God.
He spends 2 paragraphs saying how her lung function sucks, but that it's normal, but unreliable, and then sends a whole paragraph about how all of her vitals and physical exam were above normal.
But then that they're actually normal. Like, he thinks that they're above normal, but then when he actually goes into detail on it, he says it's all normal.
Yeah, he just doesn't make any sense ever.
Unbelievable.
I don't know how many times you can say unbelievable.
I really don't. I don't know. There's absolutely no explanation for any of this. There is nothing logically explanation for this. There is no way.
Legs were obviously extremely weak. How did you measure this, doctor?
Dee Dee said so.
She's weak.
Dee Dee said so.
Weak.
No, she's supposed to be paralyzed. So I think that goes beyond the word weak. I don't know.
Right, her legs didn't move at all. No reflexes.
Because if you're paralyzed, your legs are not going to move, right? I mean, you would have to have somebody move them for you. That's what happens, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just, they wouldn't just be weak. They would just be pretty much non-existent.
Right. He could, like he said that her not having much subcutaneous tissue, that would have been fine. Saying that there was muscle atrophy,
right?
Anything other than the word weak, because weak implies movement.
Right.
Movement means not paralyzed. Paralyzed means she doesn't, or not paralyzed means not needing a wheelchair. Okay. But that's the last we see of her in 2014. And so now we're on 5/4 of 2015. And there's 2 visits, actually. Let me know when you guys can see them.
We have 5 minutes left. Are we going to get through this in 5 minutes?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, go ahead.
What are we on, the physical exam?
I'm not even looking, so just go ahead.
5. I just want to make sure. Actually, I think it's the same doctor. No, it's different.
Maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe there are multiple personalities too.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm on the right one. So I'm going to go to the physical exam.
Okay.
First. So, Gypsy Rose Blanchard was seen, and now she is 23. So her birth date is back into 91 again, despite being seen in Springfield again. And she was seen just for like a physical exam, and this is where they find her, everything is normal. Just everything. Her head's normal, her chest is normal, all vitals are normal, that she is neurologically alert and oriented and answers questions appropriately, and that the doctor, or nurse practitioner, writes that the patient or mother reports she's doing very well and are just here to establish care closer to home. She is currently using a nasal mask with a chin strap and waking with a dry mouth. Discuss the importance of maintaining an oral seal and ways to achieve this. She was shown several styles of chin straps available, but also discussed switching to a full face mask. They plan and look into these options. She will follow up in 6 to 12 months, contacting the office sooner if needed. So mostly just them saying that, yep, she is normal.
So wait a minute. Is that meaning that they're not indicating that there's a CPAP or BiPAP at this time?
They're saying that she's using just a nasal mask, but that her mouth is getting dry.
So they're telling this doctor that she's not, they're not saying she's using a BiPAP or a CPAP, just a nasal mask.
Yes.
So basically, okay, so this is what I'm seeing here. So Kansas is starting to get, Kansas City is starting to get kind of muddied over there. And so now we're into Springfield now, and we just want to establish, care closer to home. We're tired of getting on the Angel flight and going to Hope Lodge and staying in shitty motels. So we're going to start over here, but we're going to start all over because we're not going to tell anybody that we have a BiPAP or a CPAP or any of that.
Pretty much. It's definitely restarting because, yeah.
And this is when?
This is in 2015. This is 5/4/15.
So a month before the murder.
Yep. So the doctor writes a little bit in his note then that it's the same appointment, but one was seen by the nurse practitioner and then she was seen again by the physician. That she has a history of muscular dystrophy and is wheelchair bound, cognitive delay, and her mother reports that she functions on a 2nd grade level. Reports that she's doing very well, but here to establish that care closer to home. That she nightly use of an average of 3 hours. I still don't understand why that gets thrown in there and why they're even telling the doctor, like, yep, she's only sleeping 3 hours. I don't know, maybe if so they give her more pain meds and knock her out. I don't know.
No, it would be to start a new BiPAP machine.
But
I know what I think is happening right here. This is literally the setup for them to get new medical records to take with them wherever the fuck they're going to go to.
Yeah, probably. That makes sense.
So this is her long game again. This is where she's going to recreate new doctors, new records, everything in Springfield, nothing about Kansas City, and she'll take those to wherever she is and say whatever happened before was whatever, da-da-da-da-da, and she's starting all over and she's only got these records.
Makes sense.
All right, we're less than a minute out, so if there's anything else we need to come back.
Nope, that's it.
That's it?
Yep.
Wow. Okay, so tomorrow we need to do the opening. Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
Hey guys, it's me, Cajun Mama Ty here with our recipe, Easy Chicken and Dumplings. This recipe is awesome. It takes you about 30 to 40 minutes to make, but oh my goodness, if you got the right seasonings and the Cajun Trinity, you're going to have it made. So to start our recipe, we want to go ahead and take our chicken breast, cut them into cubes like 1-inch size so that you have it, so that it cooks a little quick but not too quick. We don't want the chicken to be dry. Then we're going to combine into a large boiling pot the chicken broth, the chicken breast cubes. Do not forget your Cajun Trinity, onion, celery, bell pepper. You want to use baby carrots. You can put a little bay leaf, salt, pepper. You can even take a dash of Tony Chachere's or Slap Your Mama and put it because you want a little bit of a kick. You bring it to a boil. Once it's boiled, you reduce the heat to medium and you cover the pot. Let it simmer until your chicken is no longer pink. That'll take you about maybe 25-30 minutes. Then while that's being done, you want to take your baking mix, which I like to use Bisquick, and you want to do your Bisquick and butter and milk. You can add a little butter to it, and then you mix that together. You want your dough to be soft but not sticky. So once it's all mixed together, you're going to take it and you're going to drop about golf ball size little balls into your chicken broth, and you put your cover on top. You want to make sure you don't stir in it because you don't want to break up your dumplings. And that usually takes about 10 minutes. So you put your cover on, you let your dumplings cook. Once your dumplings are cooked, guess what? Your chicken and dumplings are all ready to go. It's delicious. It's an awesome recipe for your cold nights in Springfield and in Wisconsin. So let's get together and still listen to this awesome podcast so we can have a great day. Y'all have a good time. Bye.
Ty, another great recipe. For the full recipe that was shared tonight, join us at our exclusive membership club at www.patreon.com/truecrimewives.
So when we talk about Gypsy's health, we also have to talk about Dee Dee's health and how she's been portrayed in media and people's idea of her, especially in the later years when we get closer to the murder. Because a lot of media likes to portray her as very sick, very ill, not really coherent, unable to really care for herself. And I'm here to let you guys know that that really wasn't the case.
No, not at all. Yeah, she had diabetes. I mean, but that's it.
She wasn't even on like a ton of insulin. Actually, she was only on one type of insulin, which is only once a day, compared to, a lot of type 2 diabetics, when they get very, very sick, that's when they have to check their blood sugar before every meal. Give regular insulin based on that number, carb count diet to prevent them from losing, their feet, their toes, or even their legs. And Dee Dee never had any limbs amputated. She never had to do that kind of blood sugar monitoring.
Yeah, she didn't really have a whole lot. I don't even see we didn't even see in the stuff that we have like a metformin or anything like that, right?
She had another type of oral diabetic med. Metformin is more common.
Mm-hmm.
But she had some other oral medications that she's going to take once a day. She was on insulin called Lantus. It's long-term, no peak time insulin. So it just helps lower the blood sugar continuously. And it would be very, very difficult to like really overdose on Lantus because there's not that peak where it would drop her blood sugar dramatically, but it is a potential if she was given enough, she could die. But because of her other meds, she wasn't like a non-coherent person. She was on some depression medications, which is just really common. Most everybody is on a depression medication nowadays. She had some as needed asthma and cough medicine. She had one cholesterol medication,
which is very common to give to type 2 diabetics, because I'm on that as well. I don't have any problems with my cholesterol specifically, but it's very common for them to put that together with the other type of stuff for diabetes.
And then she was just on a thyroid medication, Synthroid. Potentially they thought, or she could have had hypothyroidism, which contributes to weight gain, which can contribute to diabetes.
Right.
And then she was on a heartburn medication, just like a Meprazole, which is over the counter. And then just 2 of the oral diabetic meds. So she's not on serious medications. The media just really upsets me because it portrays it that Gypsy could have just ran away and her mom was so incoherent that she could have never, noticed that she was gone, kind of thing, when really that wasn't the case.
Well, yeah, the thing is like with the act, they portrayed her as like very declining health. Granted, she was overweight, yes. And, like I said, I have type 2 diabetes as well. I'm in the ballpark area of how old Dee Dee was. She was a little older than me when she was passed away. She's 3 to 4 years older than what I am now, but I'm nowhere near about to like kick the bucket, from diabetes or anything like that. It's very manageable. Yes, she's overweight. And she was swollen from being overweight. Maybe the hypothyroidism played into that, but it was not a situation where it was like, oh, well, Gypsy should have just waited it out. She would have died anyway. No.
Nope.
Yep. Those episodes of the act where they portrayed her, where she was just like so breathless and telling Gypsy she needed to just lay down, like where Gypsy could have just walked out the door and she would have been just fine doing that. It drives me crazy when I see that. And then it's also interesting to me that her diabetes was an issue, but when we look at the crime scene photos, you see tons of Pepsi and cookies and cakes and just nothing but junk food and sugary foods in the crime scene photos. And according to Dee Dee, Gypsy was taking 80% of her nutrition through the tube. So, I mean, obviously it was Dee Dee who was consuming all of these sugary drinks and foods.
Sure.
Well, and her doing that is, I see that a lot with older type 2 diabetics. My in-laws, he just kind of stopped really being proactive about his diabetes and was, especially around the holidays, it's hard.
Right.
But then it comes in with the cholesterol medications. He wasn't taking it either, and he ended up having a heart attack.
Right.
And it can play into it, but he was at the stage where he needed to be taking his insulin 2-3 times a day, and he wasn't. Right. And Dee Dee was not at that point. She was never prescribed that regular insulin or the
short term or she only had the long term one, right? So
and not there are like longer term insulins that are like 6 to 8 hours, but she was on the Lantus, which is a continuous 24-hour insulin.
Right.
So she was nowhere near this stage where she would have looked like how she's been portrayed. And
yeah, I mean, she obviously packed on a lot of weight. I mean, when you look at her, you can see that. And even Rod said, oh my God, I didn't even recognize her, but she looked a lot like her mom, I mean, at that point she'd packed on the weight like her mother had. But beyond that, there wasn't any type of major medical history there that she was getting really weak or her cognitive abilities were failing. None of that.
No. And when going along with that, we also have no record that Gypsy took Dee Dee's medications or that she took Gypsy's medications. Is it a possibility? Potentially. But there is no proof that that occurred.
Well, I think the only reason that comes into play is because of Gypsy taking with her the pain medications. And I haven't seen the bottles. They were not pictured in anything to see if it actually says Dee Dee or if it says Gypsy on it, because Gypsy had pain medications of her own. So I'm not, I don't know where that rumor has come from, if it's true or not, but that's the big deep reason why people are like, oh, well, then Gypsy was just taking Dee Dee's medications or Dee Dee was taking Gypsy's medication. No.
And we have no proof of that. And Dee Dee wasn't prescribed any opioid pain medications. And there was usually, when people get addicted to opioids, it's quite expensive to take medication like that. Yeah. And overdoing it. And that's how people get addicted to heroin. And when people get addicted to heroin, they do not typically look like Dee Dee. Right. Usually people are strung out and they get very thin and not eating. Right. So there's a big difference. And if you look in the closet of medications, there is a lot of over-the-counter stuff in there. There's but that but that's not the only source of all the medication bottles in that house.
Right.
And Gypsy had her own multitude of different types of pain medications, benzodiazepines. There was no need really for Gypsy to have to take anything of her mom's.
Right.
And I don't think it would have been Dee Dee taking Gypsy's, because if that were the case, if Dee Dee's health was so much declining that she required Gypsy to help her eat or take any medications, then Gypsy would have just be like, oh, they changed the shape of this and take this, overdose on fentanyl.
Right.
Like, that would have been something much easier to do.
I don't believe that Dee Dee would have given up that type of control either.
Oh, no.
If it got to a point where Dee Dee was declining that rapidly, I think we would have seen the part where she says, I hope we go together because one can't live without the other. I think that's where that would have come into play.
Yep.
And Dee Dee would have been like, well, I can't die and leave her here because then what happens, So I really, truly believe, again, if it had gotten to that level, then we would have seen, I think that she would have controlled Gypsy and realized, okay, well, I'm getting worse and worse. I'm not going to be able to control Gypsy anymore. It's time for Gypsy to go. Because she couldn't have somebody, if Gypsy got the upper hand, man, there's no way.
No.
Well,
and Dee Dee could have easily decided that at that point, just how Lacey Spears, put things in her son's feeding tube and he couldn't throw it up. The same thing could have happened with Gypsy. Sure. You put a crap ton of opioids in her formula, push it through the tube, and call it a day.
Yeah.
That's all that would have had to happen.
Yeah. Or salt.
Just do that enough times.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back. What if you could be a true crime detective right from the comfort of your own home? Dispatch is an interactive serial mystery that unfolds over several months. Imagine the experience of an escape room in your own home, a new kind of escape called Dispatch. It's a subscription box that is a step apart from everyday entertainment, better than a book, more engaging than television. Think of it as an immersive mystery where you wear the detective hat. The story begins with the first delivery,
or dispatch, if you will. In it, you'll find physical clues that lead you to the web and back to the real world to unravel a mysterious crime. Grab a friend, the whole family, and your thinking cap, and get ready to put your heads together for one mind-bending ride, as additional details are revealed with every package. Check out the description for a special link to grab your dispatch box today and start your own true crime detectiving. We absolutely love hearing from our listeners, and we'd like to invite you to send us a question for us to answer or a case you'd like us to cover. You can do this in two different ways. You can send us a message right here at anchor.fm/truecrimewives, and we might play it live in one of our next episodes, or you can drop us an email at goodwivesdish, that's DISH, @gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. We recently were able to speak to a mom whose son had some pretty serious conditions that was seeing Dr. Flasterstein. Now, if you remember, Dr. Flasterstein is the one who, in the records, is who put in there that Munchausen by proxy and suspected Munchausen by proxy, but then never followed up. And then Dee Dee never went back to Flasterstein. So people have talked about the fact that he recognized it, but you might hear some different things here in this conversation that Colleen's going to share with us that we had with this mom and what was happening with her own son.
So when her son was 5 years old, he started seeing Dr. Flasterstein, and he was on 2 different seizure medications on very large doses. But when he came to his mother's house, they moved to Illinois when he was diagnosed with seizures and was placed on liquid forms of seizure medications. But he started mentally declining and being unable to participate in school. And so his mom took him off all the medications because it seemed like it was pretty much an overdose of these medications without proper follow-up from Flasterstein. And now her son is an adult and doesn't take them, but originally, back when he was 6, his seizures were caused by getting hit in the head with a rock. And his seizures weren't like grand mal seizures with the shaking that typically somebody would expect of seizures. His were the absent seizures where somebody kind of just stares off into nothing. And the first neurologist that they had saw said that it was like hitting pause on a VCR.
Right.
And it's just, there's nothing happening. But his mom just kind of said that he appeared like a zombie. He lost a lot of weight. He wasn't just participating. He was just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And all 3 of her sons have a seizure at some point in their life, but this one was the only one to appear like that, and he was looking very sickly. But Flasterstein did not do any follow-up testing or any EEGs or MRIs.
Big surprise there.
He just wrote large doses of medications without any follow-up. So I really applaud this mom to, when she was able to have her son with her, she was able to get him to see other doctors and get him really off the medications, and he was fine. He now is on like 1 medication. Now as an adult, he really doesn't take it, but he was able to go back into school. which is something really big.
Mm-hmm.
And so around this time, this year, the year that the son saw Dr. Flasterstein was roughly around 2008.
Now, this mom, she describes her son as basically being a zombie when she saw him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was from all the medication that Flasterstein had him on.
Yes. And so
would this be like would this be like similar to like a TBI, like a traumatic brain injury, from the fall, or that he got hit?
Sort of. It wasn't as severe as like a motor vehicle accident, but it is something that did affect his pattern to have those type of seizures.
Right.
But he was normal as a young child.
Right.
And then had this accident and started having these absence seizures, but he wasn't like having these grand mal seizures all the time. He was still in school at that
So there
point.
was no reason to be medicating him the way that he was being medicated, basically.
Right. And especially starting at that high dose with no testing to show that he needed to be on these 2 strong seizure medications. It almost is upsetting because the mom did share with us some social reasons regarding probably why the father didn't question Flasterstein at the time. Her ex was bragging how the school had made a special cot in the nurse's office for this 5-year-old to sleep in at school, and how he missed out on most of his kindergarten and all of his first grade year. And his dad, the son's dad, and his wife at the time had been actually requesting more medications because they felt like they were overwhelmed with kids and just wanted him to kind of be that mindless zombie and not do anything.
So kind of like the parents who give their kids Benadryl when they go on a long trip because they want the children to sleep.
Yes, exactly.
But on a larger scale. So again, we're seeing some sort of almost a Munchausen by proxy situation, but more not because of like, oh, I want to be the hero or I want to, cause my kid whatever. No, this is kind of the opposite of that of, okay, I'm so overwhelmed with all the children I have and I can't take care of them. So let's just put one of them into like this zombie-like state. That's pretty much what I'm getting from this. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. And which is sad on the parents' part, the father, but also sad that Flasterstein really went along with it, saying just, okay, here's the medications you wanted him to be on, and I'm not going to do any follow-up, which, and I've talked before, seizure medications are no joke.
Right.
They affect your brain waves, they affect how your body reacts, and this is why a 5-year-old turned into a zombie.
And see, this is where I think that this plays part into why Flasterstein did absolutely nothing about the fact that it was Munchausen by proxy. He can say all he wants that, oh, I didn't think I'd be believed, or no, you know what? You were a part of this kind of whole thing too, in the way that you medicate other children. And I'm sure that he was worried that if something happened where he got involved with some sort of, investigation into Gypsy's case, that other cases of his would be investigated as well.
Yes, I 100% believe that there are other families out there who have encountered the same thing, or even potentially foster families for kids that have these kind of illnesses that don't really know any better, and they trust neurologists to take care of their kids and know what's best. And if a doctor says, take these 2 medications, they will help your child, that they'll do it because they want to help their child. And unfortunately, this mom encountered the opposite. She didn't have her son at the time, and her son turned into a zombie for 2 or 3 years. And when she got him, she took him off all the meds and he was a normal kid again.
That's so sad.
Unbelievable.
It's so sad. And you know that has to do something with the custody battle and all of that. Like, you know, I mean, it's just sad. But these doctors, I mean, again, we come back to the absolute negligence of these doctors, these specific doctors involved in Gypsy's case and these other cases. You know, like we've said before, this is what makes this different than what happened with Lacey Spears, because with Lacey Spears, those doctors, they ran massive amounts of tests and
they didn't know. They didn't understand why.
They didn't understand why. Whereas these doctors, they do almost nothing. And it's like, okay, let's just treat and treat and treat and treat and give and give and give and give and operate and give more medication, but with no reasoning of it. And it's very,
it's apparent that a parent asked this doctor, oh, can you put him on more medication? Wow. And it just goes along with it. That's not okay. When a parent should not be telling the doctor what to prescribe unless it's a situation where there's experimental treatment and a parent is on their last wit's end and they're like, I found, there's a doctor across the country doing, this medication to help this. What do you think? Do you think that would work?
Just gross negligence. It's just, that's what it boils down to. Gross negligence.
Yep. And this mom has said numerous times and to other people to not use flasterstein.
Yeah.
Now, after a while, she took her child to a different doctor and everything came back normal with the child, and that was just it?
Well, so all the testing from the different neurologists, the one that's not Dr. Flasterstein, showed that he didn't have as hard amount of seizures or as bad, that he didn't require those medications. And they put him on a less severe seizure medication, but that was when he was a younger child. But as soon as he got into his teenage years, he didn't feel like he needed it. And now he's in his, I think, early 20s, and he doesn't take it at all, but he's fine.
That's wonderful.
Okay, that's great.
So as soon as he was off of the medications that flasterstein had him on, he was able to go back into school, participate, and was a normal kid again.
Wow.
It's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's very sad, but thankfully she had enough, sense to question it and to not just take one doctor's opinion and to decide that was the end all be all, So
yeah.
Kudos to her for figuring out, hey, something is wrong with my son, because I can think of a lot of parents who just wouldn't have, like you said, wouldn't have questioned. Oh, the doctor says, okay, that's it, but kudos to her.
If anybody listening knows anybody else who has been treated by Dr. Flasterstein, wants to, give a shout out about their experience, definitely reach out to us at
goodwivesdish@gmail.com, or you can record a question for us right here on Anchor FM, anchor.fm/truecrimewives. And we'd love to hear from anybody who's had any experience with any of the doctors that are, predominant in this case. So if anybody has had an interesting relationship or experience with Dr. Beckerman or Dr. Steele or Dr. Flasterstein, we'd love to hear from all of you. And we will be doing follow-ups after we finish up this series. We still will come back from time to time with follow-ups and updates on the case and things that we uncover, because we're still investigating things. So your story might be able to be shared too. So that would be very helpful to get this out there in the community so that this doesn't continue to happen to other children, that doctors and nurses and social workers and parents can all see warning signs of what is going on. Okay.
That's what makes it even more horrifying, is like we hear this story and it's like, it's terrible, this kid, how he was treated, and he was walking around like a zombie at 6 years old. But to think about how many kids is this happening to right now is where it becomes terrifying when you think about it.
It truly does. Yeah, it really does. And I think it happens more often than people are willing to admit. That's one of the reasons why we are looking to talk with some of the Munchausen by proxy experts, and we're hoping to bring some education to you guys directly from some of the experts that we've been working with, and really try and do some more work in that realm. Just because we're finishing up our Gypsy Rose series does not mean that we're not still very much passionate about bringing more awareness to Munchausen by proxy and medical child abuse and just regular child abuse and the other platforms that we are talking about in this case. So it doesn't end here.
Yeah, not even close.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Wives will be right back.
Hey guys, Cajun Mama Ty here. Yes, you guessed it. I have a French saying of the day. It's not really a French word. It's actually a game we played as kids. At my grandmother and grandfather's house when I was young, which is where I stayed most often because both my parents worked. We called them Mommy and Papi. So we would play this game, and it was called Pass the Potato. All the grandkids would get around, and my grandpa would give us a potato, and we'd pass the potato around. He'd play music or he'd sing, and then when he'd stop the music, whoever had the potato, they were out. A lot of people used to call it hot potato, but what we called it was lâche pas la patate. Lâche pas la patate in Cajun French means don't let go of the potato or don't give up. So when we would play this game, we wanted to get rid of the potato, but we wanted to keep the potato as well. So here's to my younger days and lâche pas la patate, don't ever give up.
Every great podcast needs a great website. Currently, our mother company, Mad Ginger Entertainment, is building their website using Bluehost. Bluehost is one of the best and most affordable web hosting platforms available. Plans start as low as $2.95 a month, and you can even integrate it with WordPress. So if you need your own website or affordable web hosting, grab our discount link in the description and get your podcast a bigger presence online at low costs.
Boy, it's always hard when we sit and talk about all the medical stuff. I think every time I hear it, it just, I don't know, it starts the feelings all over again for me. Does that make sense to you guys?
100%. It's emotionally taxing because anybody at any age has some experience in healthcare, whether as a patient or a family member, and seeing what was happening to a child or teenager or young adult, and seeing what was being done to her, but also on the doctor's part of what they were willing to do to a person really without any reasoning. And it's emotional, and that's why we split it up a bit, because it'd be very long for us to tell you everything.
And we're only we're only scratching the surface. I mean, we're giving you the highlight reel, guys. This is a highlight reel of what went on. I think.
Sorry, I think the reason why the medical reopens the wounds, I guess you could say, for us is because we hear stories in the news all the time about kids whose parents failed them or friends failed them. But to know that this girl spent so much of her time around mandated reporters and nothing was ever done to help her. That's, I think, why the medical makes it so hard, because we already know, okay, she's being failed by family members who see things and either don't know how to handle it or don't want to be bothered with it. But then to know that all of these professionals, these educated people who are supposed to recognize child abuse in whatever form it comes in, and nobody stood up for this girl. And that's why I think the medical is so difficult to go back into, no matter how many times we've seen it.
Well, because I think, like, you know, we can sit and we can say whether Gypsy colluded or didn't collude, or we can talk about all the other different things of why she didn't leave or she didn't do this, or how Dee Dee, you know, manipulated her or abused her. But this thing, like, for me, like you said, it's that these doctors should have known better. And you trust doctors. And I think about my own experience. Like, my mom passed away from a stroke. And when she passed away, the doctor that was seeing her was not the doctor that had been caring for her for years. My mom lived down in California, and I had moved to Phoenix at the time. Well, my mom went into a coma, and I came down and got her. And the second that I walked into the room, my mom woke up. She had been unresponsive for a week. She heard my voice. She woke up immediately. I worked for 6 months to get her, to bring her to my home, and my mom passed away a year later. Now, my mom had, you know, juvenile diabetes. There were lots of things that could cause her, but we still thought we had maybe, you know, I'd say at the high end, another 5-6 years with her. At the low end, maybe 2-3 years, you know. We were not expecting that to happen. But what had happened was my mother had been having miniature seizures for years. When they did the brain scan, that was what they were able to show. And the doctor said, with the amount of doctors that she was seeing for treatment for all the different things that she was being treated for, they should have caught this. There is no effing reason that your mother should be dead today. There is absolutely none. And if you want me to help you, I will, you know, launch a malpractice suit. But it was too hard for me. My thought process as a only child of a single mom and having my own children, my thing is that no amount of money that I would win from a malpractice suit would ever bring my mother back. So I chose not to do it, but I was very angry, and I'm still angry. It's been 15 years and I'm still angry because my mother missed out on my children's lives because doctors didn't do what they're supposed to do, that we trust them to do, you know? So this one's hard for me. The medical is extremely hard for me because I feel like these doctors just are so negligent.
Well, and we hear from other families, not just the Gypsy case, but other families who have dealt with these doctors, and they are negligent in other cases.
Yeah.
And we got families reaching out to us because they want to tell us their experience. And it's hard knowing that it wasn't just, you know, Dee Dee tricking these doctors. It's that these doctors are just doing it to other patients. And I get really emotional, and I've shared with you guys, I had, you know, my feeding tubes, but the errors that my doctors made nearly killed me several times. And it was that, you know, I got a nurse and a resident fired, but I mean, so the hospital clearly knew that there was some negligence, that's why they had to be fired, but there wasn't enough, you know, proof to show that, you know, malpractice money suit. But it wasn't, you know, worth it on the money end, because at 22 I shouldn't have been in a hospital bed almost dead. You know, a doctor saying, you know, 2 hours and you would have died. That's not okay. And I'm not okay with doctors and medical staff being okay that that's just something that happens. It's not okay.
No, and it's very frustrating in this case. This is one of the things that, when I got involved, one of the very first things I asked about was a medical malpractice suit. And Christy had explained to me, oh, we've gone to so many lawyers and they don't want to take the case. And now I question that at this point, knowing what we know with, the family and how they are. I don't know I've never saw any proof that they went to lawyers and they turned it down. But now the statutes of limitations has run out, and I think that that's terrible because Gypsy didn't find out that all of this. Now, I'm sure we question, how much she did know, how much she didn't know, but I don't think she realized the absolute amount of fraud that she was being involved in. I think that she had pieces of it. I think she knew that her mother was lying on a lot of things, but I don't think that she was able or in a position that she could have stopped it, or she could have figured out a way to go after these doctors, before her mother's death. And so the statutes of limitations really irritates the crap out of me too, because now Gypsy has absolutely no way of getting anything, or any type of justice in this realm.
And I don't know what documentary it was, where it was when she walked into the courtroom for the first time, when she walked, and she's like, my lawyer had just told me that I didn't have cancer, and that, this pretty much she was fine. And I think that was, you can see it on her face that she didn't really understand the culpability and all the issues that were happening.
Yeah. I mean, because you expect your parents to tell you the truth. And whether, like I said, again, I think that Gypsy knew early on that things weren't right, but I don't think she knew everything. I think that she really thought, well, okay, maybe we're telling some lies here or there, but I'm still sick, right? Like, I'm still sick. And I'm sure Dee Dee would tell her, yes, you're sick. Yeah, maybe you don't need to use the wheelchair, but it just looks good and you really are sick, and if you do this, you're going to get that. We've talked about that. But when she first started out, at 5 years,
she was a kid.
At 3 months old, at 5 months old, at whatever, she's a kid. And these doctors did all kinds of things to her, and they should be held accountable. I'm not necessarily saying that the answer is, some sort of lawsuit where she gets money necessarily, but they should be held accountable. And the hospitals should be held accountable. This should not, because if nothing happens, if nobody is held accountable for this, it will just continue.
Mm-hmm. I question sometimes when it comes to Gypsy with that. I agree that I do think that at a certain point she understood that she was lying. I think she did have full faith in her mom, though, that her mom knew what she was doing, and you listen to your mom and you trust your mom. But at a certain age, when she did understand that a lot of it was lies, I question her mental stability from her mother. Because who goes along, I think she did feel like, okay, if I go along with this and I lie about this, we'll get this, or this, a trip or whatever it was. But there's really nothing you could offer me, Fancy, to get me to go under anesthesia. Not even once.
No, but I think that for me, what it would be is that she, even knowing that they're lying or whatever, she, in her mind, to me, I would think that there had to be some thought process of, well, if there wasn't anything wrong with me, these doctors would know, right? Like,
yeah.
So
it was.
So
she trusted the people around her.
It's probably it was probably very confusing for her. I'm sure she, like you said, there's nothing that would make me go under anesthesia for that. But then again, it's like, well, wouldn't a doctor know? So maybe my mom isn't, maybe I'm not.
Yeah, like what's a lie and what's the truth.
Right, yes.
What she's supposed to know at that point. But that's what I mean. Like, I question what was going on in her head because of everything. Mm-hmm. I know I can walk. I know I don't need this wheelchair. So maybe I don't need this other stuff. But then when mom takes me to the doctor, they say I need this stuff. They give me this medicine. So I have to be sick, right? But
Yeah.
I can walk and I know I can eat. So what was like her mind? And then on top of that, if she was taking that seizure medicine at any time, like her mind had to be a complete and total mess by the time she got to where she went online and met Nick.
Yes, clearly.
Oh, of course.
Had to be just a mess.
Clearly.
Because she didn't have formal education at all.
Right.
I don't think she really was homeschooled at all. She has no concept of social behavior. She has never really had any friends in person. She is just with Dee Dee and the doctors. It's just those two. And so Dee Dee's saying, you're sick, you need these things. The doctors are saying, you're sick, you need these things. But your body says, I can walk, but, I
feel fine. Right, I feel fine.
But, and then when it comes to, like, the fraud amount, I think it's, Dee Dee telling her, if we get caught, if you say something, you've been going along with this, you are going to be in just as much trouble as I am. And I think those kind of confusing emotions on top of the multitude of other crap going on.
Mm-hmm. And I think that was the beginning of the end. Once she hit that age and she said, you know what, I want a real life. I'm not going along with this anymore. And Dee Dee said, oh, yeah, well, you try to leave. People are going to know that we were lying and me and you both are going to go to jail.
Right.
And I think that was the beginning. I think that was the beginning of the period that they were fighting. There were a lot of arguments going on in the house that Gypsy talked about.
Yeah.
And
that
I think
2-year period of time where they were nothing.
Yeah.
I really questioned that period of time, like what was going on, where was there a struggle? Was that the beginning of Gypsy going, you know what, I'm going to find a way out. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm damn sure going to get out. Somehow this is going to happen because, she started little by little finding a way, little by little trying to enact different things of how to escape, but it just nothing took, and I can imagine the hopelessness that she felt like of like, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter what happens, I go to these damn doctors and they just say more, and I can imagine like, and can you even think about like trying to explain that? Because we know that she's explained some of this to Nick in some ways. We have not seen all the text messages. We do have quite a few, but we still are missing quite a bit. And I wonder what those conversations look like. I can't wait till his appeal is over, whichever way it goes for him. I hope he gets some sort of amount of real care and help. And some, I think the guy needs help, but whichever way the appeal goes, I'm excited to see the rest of the information that we don't have right now, because there just had to be a struggle in her mind constantly.
Right, because she's in her, early 20s? Mm-hmm. And all those feelings of teenage rage pent up, and then having to pretend you're like a 11-year-old.
Right, well, thinking about it, so they get the house in Springfield in 2007, and then, it's 7 years between that to the murder. And I think that was a period of, she's 17 and little by little she began to really, really begin to understand this is wrong. Something here is not right. I am not as sick as they say. I am not, I can walk. I can. And I believe that was a huge power struggle. I really, truly do. Thanks so much for tuning in and dishing true crime with the Good Wives.
Don't forget to join our Patreon member club to get the full recipe shared tonight, inside documents and pictures from the case, bonus mini podcast episodes, live YouTube discussion, and an exclusive invitation to our discussion group on Facebook, and get some amazing Good Wives merch.
Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at True Crime Wives. And for more inside information, check us out on YouTube at Murder by Design, where we're currently talking about a few different true crime cases, from bullying murders to serial killers. We dish it all.
Have a good one from the Good Wives, serving up true crime, one dish at a time.